My fellow Amazonians, in the past 8 years, we were faced first by the teachers and lawyers attempting to demand for federalism. And we were clear from the beginning that you can't. The reason we put out the Bamenda Proclamation in 1995, after the late 1994, was because in 1993, during the All Anglophone Conference 1, we catalog all the economic, social, and political grievances that we have, and we sent it to Yaoundé and asked the regime in Yaoundé to discuss with us based on those grievances and to redraw the map of the country in such a way that the Amazonian uniqueness and autonomy is guaranteed. Even before that, when Mr. Biya called for the large and grand debate post-1990, Professor Carson Anyangwe and others had discussed a federal constitution that would have been the basis of discussions during the so-called large or grand debate. But overnight, those debates were changed into fax and telephone conferences. And so we made it clear to the teachers and lawyers, history did not begin in 2016. There is history, and that history should inform this generation of the approach they must adopt, the strategies they must adopt, the understanding they must have in going forward. But as usual with our struggle, populism and relevance of the moment dictates conduct and strategies. And so what we did was simply to redefine our path and move separately to begin to build a force. Because we knew then, as we know today, it is the absence of a force that made it possible for Ayijo to roll tanks over and took over Boya without a fight. That if we had an army, if we had our own force, it would have been impossible for him to do that. But from the nature of the leadership at that time, the political naivety with which they conducted themselves, you could still believe that the Funchas and the others would have, even with an army, simply given away the army. As we are seeing the enablers and regime apologists forcing today, trying to criminalize our forces, trying to turn the defenders of our freedom into some scapegoating in order to get them to surrender and take us back to pre-1961. My fellow people, we said to Mr. Ayuk Tabe and others that doing the proclamations, or what is called the restoration, on the 22nd of September 2017 and on the 1st of October 2017, without clearly understanding what would be required to defend, was suicidal. We were providing this as advice based on our experience, because we know that in 1996, under the Southern Cameroon's Youth League, we wrote a Declaration of Independence. During that period, we set up a force of more than 4,000 men, knowing fully well, once we declare, we will have to defend. And I know that on the 24th of March 1997, when Dr. Akwanga was picked up, we attacked the regime in 3 states. We took over Oku, we took over Jakiri. And I walked into Bamenda with a death chair. We were controlling half of Bamenda. Attacked Bafut on the 27th of March 1997, and in an attempt to roll towards the border. So we were not making prescriptions that were not tested. We were providing ideas from within the context that had been tried, because our activities ran parallel to the activities of the force of argument espoused and prescribed by the Southern Cameroon's National Council, which turned our struggle into a laughing stock in the face of the world. For our struggle to be taken seriously, we must come across as a people with a plan. And before overtly talking about a plan, that plan must have been subjected to internal discussions, debate, and scrutiny, matched against other liberation struggles. So we are sure that the I's are dotted, the T's are cut, and that it can stand the test of public scrutiny in terms of its vision, in terms of its scalability, adaptability, and in terms of its efficacy. And that's what we did. No one in Ambazonia can doubt that self-defense as a general strategy, the tactics of economic sabotage, undermining the legitimacy of the system in our country by dismantling its political infrastructure, internationalization of our struggle to be able to move the struggle from a place where Mr. Biya had advantage to the international system where we have advantage. No one can argue that these have been successful tools that has moved the people from relative obscurity in the past 7 years to the international stage, where a foreign minister will make a declaration about talks between movement of the former British Southern Cameroons and Cameroon. This is what a strategy has been able to produce. This is what tenacity has been able to produce. This is what fearlessness has been able to produce. What works can never be shelved for purposes of convenience and political relevance in a struggle for freedom.